What up, everybody?
CrashNoLaw.com.
Friday. Welcome to this isn't another edition of anything. Welcome to the live stream. I'm a special guest over here. Most of you know him. If you don't, this is Tim from, I guess it's New York Giants Straight Talk now. It was online Big Blue.
It's still online Big Blue, but it's also New York Giants Straight Talk on the Believe Network.
Okay. So all of that is there. He's on Twitter. He's on obviously YouTube. So check him out. We have definitely worked together before. A couple of older guys, a couple of Gen Xers representing, old enough to remember when the Giants were actually worth a shit. So yeah, we've been around a long time. And
I don't remember that. I know senility kicks in at a certain age, but I don't fucking remember when the last time we were good.
I was gonna say that's the thing. You get old enough, you forget. A lot of stuff.
I've already forgotten.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So it's another year. It's another year of us being 0-2. I'm not gonna lie to you. They tricked me. You know, they tricked me this preseason. I thought they'd be better.
You were tricked by the aura.
I was tricked by a lot. It's probably tricked by my fandom more than anything. And I saw the last few years, the preseason, we looked like shit. It carried into the regular season. I'm like, maybe this will carry into the regular season. Obviously, it didn't. I mean, they almost beat Dallas, but in the end, the Giants will do what they always do, and that's find a way to lose. What do you think is the biggest issue with the team so far this year?
If you had to break it down and take a look at it from an outside perspective, the biggest problem is the entire roster. All right, guys, that's it. We're out.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Have a good night. It's you want to go with the offensive line. You want to go with issues in the secondary. You want to go with the lack of any consistent production vis-a-vis the tight end. You take a look at the running game, which is non-existent. I mean, like I said, everyone's all crazy about, Mr. Scatterboon. Everyone talks about the big 20+ yard run, but they also don't talk about the fact that he had 10 carries for 21 yards. And he got, great run, but that run was set up by design by the Russell Wilson play earlier in the second and first quarter, where he actually had that 4-yard gain, and Dallas bit when they saw Jackson Dart come in because they thought, hell, it's going to be the same fucking play. They're going to run it off to the left. But of course he handed it off and went up the middle. Then they tried to play that again a little bit later in the game, and it was a negative 3-yard loss. So there are so many different perspectives of this team that, once again, I think not only from the fan base, but from the organizational standpoint, we continuously overhype the talent that we have, even though the talent is not complete NFL caliber. I did a breakdown the other day where I say, if you take a look at both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, what players on this team would be able to actually start for a playoff team? And I think we had two. I think we had 2 on the defensive end and 1 on the offensive side. So that tells you and plus the fact that when your depth pieces should be depth pieces that are on the practice squad, then you got some problems.
Yeah. How much of this do you think is coaching? Like, what do you think about the coaching? Because for years, I'm probably this goes back to 2022. Like, I always had a belief that Dable was a good coach and there wasn't enough talent on this roster. Now, it's still not the most talented roster in the NFL, but I do feel like they do have more talent than they've had in years previous, and the results continue to be the same. And then I sit there and question the offensive play calling against Washington. Like, it was just extremely vanilla. There was nothing creative there. It was a lot of short passes. They didn't do anything. Like, Green Bay had a lot of, Washington likes to play a lot of man. Green Bay ran a lot of motion, got guys open. The Giants didn't do any of that against Washington. They were very predictable, and we didn't do shit. And then against Dallas, obviously, I think they opened it up a little bit more, but Dallas' defense is pathetic. I mean, it was awful. You just saw Wandale. They were playing zone, and they were just running right through the defenders, through the seam, and it was easy, and they were able to protect Russ. But again, I'm not going to put too much stock in it because it's Dallas, and they might have the worst defense in the league. They're going to get a much bigger test against Kansas City. But to me, I feel like there's too much talent on the defense for it to be as bad as it's been the 2 games. We've always had problems with the run defense, but to give up whatever they've given up, they're like 31st in yards allowed, 31st in points allowed. They're like last in red zone defense. Like, how much do you think this is Shane Bowen's scheme as opposed to the talent they have on the field?
Well, everyone knows that ever follows my channel knows I hate Shane Bowen. I've hated Shane Bowen since he was in Tennessee. I used to follow Tennessee for a couple of years because a certain player they drafted. I watched a lot of Tennessee games, and Shane Bowen is a guy that rushes 4, maybe blitzes 25% of the time, likes to generate the rush with 4, plays this soft zone, not really a Tampa 2, but this soft zone, in which we saw at the end of the game where the DBs were 15 yards off the wide receivers. And we've mentioned it many times on my channel that he only improved defensively when in the 5 years that he was in Tennessee when Jim Schwartz was his mentor. Mike Vrabel, and this is actually in the Daily Tennessean, came out and brought in Jim Schwartz for 2 years after the Titans went 11-5, but had one of the worst defenses in the league, and he helped improve the secondary. Now, the moment that Jim Schwartz left and took the job in Cleveland, the secondary dropped right back to what it was. He is not known for cultivating defensive backs. He's better known, Shane Bowen, in reference to safety play. But when you have 2 press cover corners in Banks and Paulson Adebo that you are playing in this zone style defense, right, it doesn't make sense. And then you have Banks coming off an off year. Paulson Adebo, we all want to love him, but this is a guy that he didn't fracture his leg, didn't have a stress fracture in his leg. He broke his leg. It was a clean break. This is a football injury that can take anywhere between 12 to 24 months to come back from, and some players never even come back from it. We saw Joe Theismann. And there's a lineage of players that have never come back from this injury. And I find it interesting, though, because we talked to some people in the NFL, and they all said the same thing before the free agency with Paulson Adebo, that most people didn't even have him on their top 5 cornerback free agent boards. Most people had it as a 2-year, $20 million deal, 10 million guaranteed in that first season. Second season has a player out. So in other words, so he can come back and heal. So we're looking at a bunch of guys that don't fit the system, that one is coming off an injury. Holland is coming off a season where he regressed so much in Miami that Miami just said, hey, you know what, just get the hell out of here. And then you look at the fact that what we paid Holland, if you would have bucked up a little bit more money, you could have kept Xavier McKinney. So I don't understand the trade-off. And you also look at some of the talent in the secondary. Cordell Flott, to me, is not a CB3. He's not a CB4. He shouldn't even go out and watch the movie CB4 because he just doesn't have the instinct. And that also, now everyone loves Drew Phillips. Drew Phillips, 11 tackles. Dak was 10 for 14 for 110 yards and a touchdown against Drew Phillips. Drew Phillips so far this season is giving up 72% completion percentage for over 10 yards of play over the last 2 games for like 178 yards. Last year, he gave up a 75% completion percentage for over 10 yards, multiple first downs for over 360 plus yards. I've said this before. He's Aaron Robinson. Aaron Robinson made the tackle all the time. But the problem is this. You're a corner. You got to stop the guy from catching the fucking ball.
Right.
And I love the fact that he had the whole thing going on with CeeDee Lamb. I remember the CeeDee Lamb play where he basically streaked down the middle. There was no fake. There was no juke. He just ran straight down the field and kind of listed to the left a little. And the Giant defense went, where'd he go? Oh, he slightly moved to the left. We can't find him. So it's players. It is the scheme. And then you have 3 defensive ends, which are basically the same player. You have carbon copies, not only in size, but in reference to how they play in Banks, Thibodeau and Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter rushed the passer like 47 times. I posted a couple of clips where he actually got lifted off the ground by the offensive lineman. And I think when we picked Carter, I said, I understood it, but I understood the fact that he could be Bryce Huff. He could be a guy that gets you 10.5 sacks, but should be a situational 3rd down pass rusher who is not going to be strong enough to hold the edge. And he really shouldn't play off the ball linebacker, because if you look at where he played at Penn State, his second season as a starting off the ball linebacker, he had a 25.9% missed tackle percentage. Yeah, that's not good. He has issues tackling in space, and he has issues tackling on the field. Outside of space as well. So I think it's a little combination of Shane Bowen being the wrong guy and and basically Joe Shane putting guys into this defensive scheme that don't fit. And I've said this before, the Giants are a cut and paste team. They're taking talent, they're cutting it out from somewhere, and they're trying to paste it into a system that they're not fit for.
So, I mean, how would you go about fixing this? Let's say you're the GM. I mean, one big thing about the Giants is they don't tackle. I mean, this is a major problem. And as much shit as I give Shane Bowen, and he deserves every bit of it because I think he's a lousy. I think you have to be aggressive with this type of team. I keep thinking to myself, God, I mean, whether these edges or carbon copies one or not, they can get there. I mean, Brian Burns has been unbelievable. Right. But I think about a guy like Wink Martindale that can be really aggressive. And when you have press corners, you're supposed to be aggressive. If that's their strength, use it. Put the quarterback under duress. And Wink was a high. It was a gamble. If you didn't get there, obviously you're prone to giving up a big play. But at the same time, you also can force turnovers. When Tommy DeVito, which I always bring up the point, people are like, Tommy DeVito ruined our draft pick. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm like, why don't you blame Wink and the defense that turned the opponents over 13 times in those 3 games? 3 games we had 13 turnovers. We've had 16 and 19 games since Bowen got here because there's no aggression factor. You're not always going to get there with 4 guys, especially when you're playing against good offensive line. I feel like you need some motion on defense too. You need to disguise what you're doing out there. He doesn't disguise anything. And it's easy for a quarterback like Dak Prescott to go up to the line of scrimmage and go, okay, this is what they're running. And I'm just going to do this because there's no disguise. You're not tricking the quarterback at all. So that's why with Shane Bowen, he pisses me out, especially the way he played that last series. The first play, he brought guys, he brought pressure. They got to Dak. They hit his arm. They almost forced him a fumble. And the next play, you're playing 20 yards off the line of scrimmage. You gave the guy a field goal. And yeah, it was a long field goal, but you should know that Aubrey's the one guy that can kick the ball 65, 70 yards.
That would have been good from 70.
Yeah, so it's insane. But as much shit as I give him, they don't tackle. Like the Giants will have a guy for a 1-yard loss, and he ends up getting 3 yards. And that might not seem like a lot, but 2nd and 7 is way better than 2nd and 11. So is this just a lack of practicing? Is it bad coaching? Is it on a player? Like, what causes a team, not just a player, to miss so many fucking tackles? It just drives me crazy.
As a former college defensive player, but played in the late 80s, early 90s, tackling was something that everyone stressed on. You literally had the tackling dummies. I mean, and they teach you, you wrap up with your arms, you lift and you drive with your legs. And you make sure that if you make sure you're always wrapping up, because at least if they're going to drag you, they're going to have to take your whole body weight with them. You look at the way the NFL is played now, and I think a lot of it has to go back to training camp, that you only get like 6 or 7 full padded practices. I mean, to me, that's ridiculous. And a lot of teams use the first like 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season as their training camp because they're also afraid to play guys in these preseason games. We used to have 5 preseason games. We have 3 now. Yeah. I mean, so if you don't have the ability to practice what you're doing and you're not taught properly, and I think a lot of this right now goes back to like Pop Warner. And I don't think it's just the Giants. There's been some poor tackling throughout the NFL, and I don't think you're taught proper technique in Pop Warner. Definitely, I know you're not taught. You taught it in high school. And I don't think they have that tutelage anymore in college. So when you get to the pros, it's the shoulder tackle. It's I'm going to hit you as hard as I can with my shoulder, and I'm going to knock you off, you're out, and everything's going to be fine. And Trey Hawkins is the prime example. I always said this. Trey Hawkins, what does he do? The first time he gets to start, throws a shoulder tackle. What does he do? Dislocates his shoulder, out for the rest of the year, and now he's pretty much gone. I mean, but you have to look at it, though, from the perspective of Shane Bowen. I think he's out of his depth when he has multiple pass rushing pieces. And to Michael, who was in the chat saying that what about, Drew Phillips has the only turnover. Michael, did you watch the turnover? Did you see it? Because the ball hit the ground.
I said that when we were watching the game. I'm like, I don't think that's an interception.
I don't understand how that didn't get overturned. The ball hit the ground, and it's great if you're making a tackle for a loss. But when you have 67 defensive snaps, and you're talking about a tackle and a loss and 1 turnover that wasn't a turnover, but he still gave up 104 yards and a touchdown on 10 for 14 for 72% completion percentage. That's a problem. The problem is this: the Giants' defense, the way it's constructed, if you don't get to the quarterback, that's it. It's game over because you have defensive ends that can't set the edge. You ran for 220 yards against Washington. Washington ran for 220 yards. Dallas ran for 132 yards. You had Booby Miles Sanders go in there and score a touchdown against you. And you had Williams drop almost 97 yards, and you had like 32 carries. They understand. The league understands what you do with the Giants. You set it up off tackle because outside of Bobby Okereke, who seemed to have lost a step, you don't have any linebacker depth. You have 3 undersized defensive ends that really – I give Brian Burns all the credit in the world. Brian Burns plays hard every snap, every down. The problem is he's just not good at run stopping. And that's literally going back to Carolina. Same thing with Kayvon Thibodeau. He doesn't know how to set the edge. And Abdul Carter, to me, is undersized and under strength to man that position. And when you can't set the edge, teams are just going to run off tackle all game long, set you up for the inside run, a little bit of play action over the top. There's a touchdown. And that's what Dak did for a majority of the second half. I mean, there was 41 points in the second half.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah. I even said I haven't seen that many points outside of an NBA game. And it's amazing that you had Russell Wilson bring the team back twice, but people still blame him for the loss because of the interception.
Not Russell's fault at all.
None of that is Russell's fault. And that's why I said I don't want to hear about Jackson Dart. But getting back to the defense, if you think about it this way, Giants would have waited 1 week before they picked up Shane Bowen. They could have hired Steve Wilkes because Steve Wilkes was fired from the 49ers a week later. He is a guy that understands an attacking style defense. He could figure out a piece. You got to get a little exotic with your blitz packages because if you're going to try to run these guys straight or if you're going to try to run them to the outside, because one of the biggest issues that Kayvon Thibodeau has, and I've seen it the same thing with Abdul Carter, is he cuts his rush too wide to the outside and doesn't cut it inside fast enough. So we had former Kansas City Chief Joe Valerio on the other day, and he was saying the same thing. All you have to do is just push these guys wide, and then you have either the entire side of the field open or you have created a gap between the guard and the tackle that we watched. You could just go right through. So, I mean, I think Bowen should be fired. I thought he should have been fired last year. Defensive scheme-wise, it just doesn't make sense. Player-wise, it doesn't make sense. And I think it's the over-evaluation of the talent once more. All we heard in training camp, I went to almost every open practice except for 2, was aura. Oh, there's so much aura on this team. It's such a different feel.
It was, but the result is the same.
And I kept watching. Training camp, and I said in a video, I said the Giant wide receivers are finding these huge gaps in the zone. I mean, I saw Wandale Robinson literally park at one point, have a sandwich, get out the lawn chair, and then the ball finally got to him, and there's nobody around. And then I was concerned because I kept seeing Tyron Tracy and Cam Scatterboo rip off these huge gains off tackle. And everyone's like, oh, look how great they are. I'm like, well, is it that they're that great? Or our defense is still so poor against protecting the edge on the run? And I think the first 2 weeks is kind of shown where we've gone with that.
The tough thing about, I always say that in training camp, is like, what do you root for? Like, if the offense is playing really well, you're like, is it because the offense is good, or is it because the defense is bad, and vice versa? If the defense is dominating, is it because our offensive line is that bad, or is the pass rush that good? And you really don't know till you go against live competition where, you know, it's your ones versus their ones, and it's an entire game plan and not just a portion of the game plan. But yeah, man, I definitely felt like in training camp, it seemed like the attitude was a lot different. It seemed like they were having a lot of fun. It seemed like Brian Daboll was having a lot of fun. And preseason, the Giants don't ever score 30 points. So it was strange. They had scored 30 points combined last preseason. This year, they scored over 30 points every game. And I don't remember the last time a Giants scored 37 points on offense. They scored 38 against Indianapolis in 2022, but there was a pick six. Yeah. I don't remember the last time that offense put up 37 points. And the last time anybody threw for 450 was the Eli Manning days. I mean, Daniel Jones never threw for 450. And to your point, I totally agree with you when people are like, oh, blaming Russ, he fumbled and he threw a pick. It should have never even come to that. Russ won the game. Russ won the game with a beautiful moon ball. Yeah, twice.
He won to the game in the fourth quarter.
Especially at the end. I mean, you're at the 50 or 48-yard line. You need a touchdown, and you got 30 seconds to get there, and he's like, fuck it. I'm getting it all right here. And you just see Leak. Yeah, the defense sucks, but Russ still had to put the ball there. Leak gets pulled in the face. He still makes the catch. And I remember going, I celebrated for a little bit. And I'm like, there's 25 seconds, and they have 3 timeouts, and this guy can kick the ball 70 yards. So I knew it wasn't over. I felt okay about it. I wouldn't say I was confident because they're the Giants. They just don't know how to win. It's insane that this team, and I don't know if you saw the stat. So in NFL history, kickers that kick the ball 60 yards or more at the end of the fourth quarter are 3 for 42, but they're 4 for 4 against the Giants.
Well, I was going to say the Graham Gano one from a couple years back on Eli's.
Yeah, when Carolina got 5 downs in that game to get that because they spiked it on 4th down or whatever the hell it was. Yep. So whatever, but Jake Elliott did it to us. Aubrey's not done. I forgot the other guy, but my God, man, it's not only are we not a really good team, we also have really bad luck. And 14 penalties for 160. That was the only thing I wanted to talk about. Again, this is me talking about the coaching. To me, that's lack of discipline. It tells me they're not practicing well. And you mentioned that they don't get a lot of padded practices. And back in the day, during the Tom Coughlin days, I used to go to Albany all the time. They had 2-a-days there.
2-a-days. You had the morning practice and then the 4 or 5 o'clock practice.
And they got rid of that.
Yeah.
And the reason they left Albany was obviously they built that Metroplex down in Jersey, but Coughlin would still bring them up to upstate New York to get them out of the city. But if they rained, they lost practice because there wasn't 2-a-days and they lost whole practice. So they're like, we're not coming up there anymore. And I jokingly say it all the time that the Giants haven't been good since they left Albany because the last time they were here was 2012 and they've been garbage since. They've been a really bad team. I'm like, bring them the hell back up here again,
Listen, there's not much in Albany. I used to go up and stay at Troy, New York all the time. And
Troy's terrible. You don't want to go there.
Well, we had to because we stayed for 2 weeks.
Oh, Troy's horrible. You don't want to go there.
I know you don't want to go. That's what I said. There's not much around Albany.
Albany's way dead. There's a lot to do in downtown Albany. Troy's a piece of shit. We call it Troyland up here. You don't want to go.
No, I know that. Trust me. We'd stay there. We would stay there for 2 weeks just so we could go to the 2-a-days because you didn't have to do this garbage with the tickets. You got to have your tickets. Because you'll remember this. You
didn't have to buy tickets. You just walked into the practice.
Yeah, they had this like 4.5-foot fence coming out.
Yeah, it was a rickety gate. Yeah, rickety fence.
And I never understood that because I remember once talking to LeVar Arrington when he came off the field. Now I had like a 20-minute conversation with him, and we're standing next to this fence, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I'm over 6 feet, and I'm looking at this little fence going, what the hell is this even here for?
Yeah.
I mean, what does this serve the purpose? And that kind of is what you got to think about the Giants. What is this season? What is going to be the purpose of this season? And I think that if, like I said, everyone talked about the great start in preseason, all the scoring, all the points. Majority of the points came against guys that were either second teamers or going to be wearing orange aprons, now. So it's like against New England. You played against a quarterback that's no longer even in the league. I thought at one point in time New England was going to let me play, but it like preseason doesn't matter. A couple of years back, Lions 4-0 went 0-16.
Yeah.
So and they had the aura. I always love that word aura because I kept hearing about it, and I'm like, I'm looking at the talent and I'm looking at how it's constructed and the way it's going against. And if you take a look at you take a look at that first draft and you take a look at the second draft, these are supposed to be, it's like 22 picks. These are supposed to be building block drafts.
Yeah, they're bad.
And I've said it for almost a year now that maybe in 2027, none of those picks may even be on this team. And the majority of that second draft have already gone. Yeah, so you need to look inward at your general manager because of the fact that he has literally left such a putrid wreckage in reference to his talent evaluation. And the first draft we had to hear, that was Gettleman's guys. Well, there's more people left from the first draft than there are from his second draft where he was in complete charge. So I think like anything else, you got to look at the general manager and say, okay, where is he leading us to? And my biggest fear is, I've already said this, I think by the second Eagle game, if we only have one win, I think they fire Brian Dable in season and promote Kafka. Then I get concerned that Mara, who is such a loyalist, is going to say, okay, you know what, Joe, we're going to do what Gettleman did. We're going to give you one more year to fix this ship.
But as far as the penalties go, do you think that's on the coaching and think that's on the players? Like, what causes it? Especially James Hudson. Like, what the fuck was going on there? Like, I've never seen anything like that. I've been watching football 43 years. I don't ever remember seeing a lineman like lose his head like that.
Do you remember Will Hernandez when he had, I can't remember, I think it might have been even against the Cardinals, where he had multitudes of stupid penalties early in the game.
Not like that.
But, no, but he lost. But the point is going to be this: he lost his head. He lost his mind. What did they do as a coaching staff? They pulled him out. They didn't keep him in the game. You have Hudson that's getting penalty after penalty after penalty, and you could see that he is getting more frustrated. You left him in the game. That's the fault of the coaching staff. I think a lot of times with the penalties, some of the penalties were not great penalties in regards to the fact that they probably shouldn't have been penalties, but the NFL's referees have been so horrid the last couple of years that there's a couple of them that shouldn't have been penalties, but a lot of them is, I think I think a lot of it's also over emotion of certain players. Like I said, Hudson to me, after the second penalty, should have been taken out for a couple plays. Just take him out. And then the next thing you know, he's swinging at a guy. And I love Dable's response. Well, the guy slipped.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if he slipped, why is he still swinging at him?
Exactly. He didn't need to do any of that.
Yeah. I mean, that was on that. To me, it's penalties are going to be penalties. You can prepare as much as you can, but when you get in as someone that has played at a fairly high level, just below the NFL, emotions sometimes take over. And then when you hit a crescendo, you have a hard time calming down. And that's what happened to Hudson, that literally even Jameis Winston and Malik Neighbors had to calm this guy down because of the fact that when you get into the game and you get into this emotion, you get into this mindset, sometimes you just kind of blank out. And I blame the coaching staff for not saying, hey, listen, you need to sit down a series. You need to sit down for a little bit and calm your ass down because, we are already without our left tackle. We need you. And then for Bo to come in and play fairly well, it's, you hope it's, little Yankee history. You hope it's a Wally Pipp.
Right.
You hope he comes in and he's the Lou Gehrig and he's going to play left tackle, Bo. But like I said, I don't think it's coaching. Well, last week I should rephrase. I don't think it's coaching as much as it was emotion. And I think it was coaching in regards to the fact that Dable should have pulled him a hell of a lot sooner.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you what you thought about Marcus Bo, because I thought there was a couple bright spots. I mean, normally you watch the Giants game, there's nothing good to take out of it. I did think there was some good to take out of it, whether or not, it's a bad defense. I think Malik Neighbors is special. I think he's really good. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's really stepped up a lot this year. But it's just there's not a ton of talent on this team. But I wanted to ask you about what you thought about Marcus Bo, because I thought that was a bright spot there, especially for a pick that had to take over. Probably wasn't expecting to take over, but definitely looked like he was ready to do it.
I thought initially, because they showed the sidelines where I think it was on the third penalty, that it looks like Dable was pulling him out. And I thought it was weird because
like this. I thought the same thing.
It kind of looked like he was overridden, and which I didn't understand. And I was like, okay. And then when Bo came in, Bo, to me, if you go back to college, Bo's strength in college has always been pass blocking. One of his strengths, he's a little bit more of an undersized tackle. He is a guy that looks a little bit like Matt Pert, but he has an understanding and a physicality to him. So he came in, and we have to remember the majority of our play, especially going towards the second half, it was basically, we were basically relying on Russell and him throwing the ball. So you actually played to the strength of Bo, which is his ability to protect the passer. Now he is a little slight of build in the run game, which will need to be, is a little bit concerning because of the fact that we have issues running the ball anyways.
Right.
But at that instance in that game against Dallas, he was the perfect replacement because of the fact that he does have an understanding and he does have an ability to actually pass block, which some Giants, over the years have not had. and some of them haven't had the ability to pass block or run block. But he did show what he did well in college, and it really showed on Sunday.
Yeah, without question, I thought I was encouraged by that, to say the least, and hopefully Andrew Thomas is good enough to go here against Kansas City. Got one more question, then we'll give a shout out to the sponsor and get to your super chats, which I greatly appreciate. What do you think about Jack? I know Jackson Dart hasn't played a lot, but what did you think about the draft pick when they took him? Come on, Tim. I mean, don't be bashful. I mean,
I'm not gonna be fucking bashful because everyone knows what I think.
Exactly.
So. I think I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. I think the overhype of Jackson Dart it reached a crescendo in training camp, where you have to remember this guy never took first team reps in training camp. He didn't take first team. And I love when people that tell me, well, yeah, he did. Well, no, I was at training camp, and I was even at the joint practice, at the Jets training camp and the Giants training camp. He did not take first team snaps. And they didn't let him take first team snaps against the Jets. They didn't let him take first team snaps against the complete Buffalo defense. And he didn't get any first team snaps against the Jets or the Patriots. Of course, it was towards the end of the season. And I look at it and I see Brian Daboll slowly bringing him along, because if you take a look at the history of the Lane Kiffin quarterback, going back to USC, because we don't want to go back so far, but we'll go back to USC. It's the very same offense he ran at Mississippi. It is, you cut the field in half, you give him an option. His quarterbacks are not allowed to audible, and they're mobile. So if the option that they're supposed to throw to isn't available, they have the ability to run. And one of the things that, if you look
like another quarterback that used to play,
yeah, a little bit, but I'm not saying he's going to be him.
No, I know, but that's just what it reminded me of what you were saying.
One of the things that, I think it was a week after the college football season ended, you had all the draftniks and you had all the scouts coming out and saying one of the biggest issues that Jackson Dart has is no one is sure if he has the ability to fully read an NFL field, because he didn't have to do it in college. You have to remember that the best quarterback to come out of a Lane Kiffin system is Matt Barkley. I mean, think about that. Matt Barkley is the best NFL quarterback Lane Kiffin has ever produced. And I don't blame Lane Kiffin, because his job is not to produce NFL talent. It's to win college football games. Yep. So I think the jury is still out if Jackson Dart is going to have the ability to completely scan an NFL field and go through his reads and his progressions. You watched it a couple times during preseason, and you're like, okay, that's great. But you got to remember whom he is doing it against. And you are seeing such a vanilla defense, in these preseason games. He's going to go from vanilla to, rocky road with sprinkles. I mean, he's going to have to show the ability. And that's why I drive him crazy when people are like, put him in. Like, no, don't put him in yet. This is something Daboll's actually doing right. Daboll is bringing the kid along slowly, not putting into a position where he could be a David Carr. He's not going to get him killed. He's going to show him some NFL defenses, show him what he needs to do, and give him the ability to hopefully go through his progressions later on in the season, not now, because of the fact that, like I said, his biggest issue coming out of college is, would he be able to read an entire field? And I think right now I'm hoping we don't see him until like week 8 or 9. I don't want to rush him in there. I'm not a big fan of bringing him in and play here and play there, because Russell Wilson is a rhythm passer. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't make sense when a guy's throwing for 450 yards. You go, hey, let's put in Jackson Dart. Yeah. Because, he's not like he's throwing for 500 yards. He's only throwing for 450. What an ass.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. People that want Jackson Dart couldn't have done better than Russ. Russell Wilson's not the reason we lost this game. No. Russell Wilson's the only reason we had a chance to win this game, if we're being honest. So, yeah, Jackson Dart could have been in. That wasn't going to keep Dallas from scoring 40 points. And Jackson Dart
it might have if they put him in that defense.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. You don't know the way our corner play. Listen, I got to ask you a question about Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Our favorite,
because I had to bring this up because I heard, and maybe I heard wrong, because I don't watch other YouTubers. I get secondhand reports, but I heard that you basically acknowledged and were happy for Daniel Jones that he's doing well in Indianapolis. Is that true?
What I said about Daniel Jones, I've said this for years. You know this.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about Daniel Jones. I always felt physically he had tools to do it. He's 6'5", felt like he had a better than average arm. He's mobile. This fucked him up. And here he was messed up. And I never thought he would gain confidence. But the first 2 games in Indianapolis, that's a totally different quarterback. That guy they haven't punted once. And he's still doing a lot of first read stuff, but the way he moves in the pocket, the way he throws with confidence, the way he's dotting receivers down the field, you saw that once in a great while. And again, this is only 2 games.
And look,
it was one thing to do it against Denver's got a pretty good defense, though. It was one thing to do it against Miami. It was another thing to do it against Denver. But again, I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to be an MVP type of guy, but that looked, just watching him play, statistics aside, scoring, it just looks like a totally different guy. I mean, I'm not rooting against Daniel Jones, but I wouldn't sit there and go, yay, Daniel Jones. I mean, I'm not like that. I just find it amusing that every player, no matter how good or poor they are, when they leave here, do way better. Barkley was really good here, great here. He goes to Philly, best player in the NFL. McKinney was really good. Great here. Goes Green Bay. All pro. Leads the world in interceptions. Daniel Jones leads here. We didn't see back-to-back games like that from Daniel Jones ever here. He goes to Indianapolis. It's Indianapolis. It's not Philadelphia. And the guy looks like he's unstoppable. So that's why, this is why I got really down on Dable like that. It's kind of like the Joe Judge thing. I was high on Joe Judge, and in an instant, I was down on him. And the same thing at Dable. For years, I defended him. And years, I defended Shane. And this year, I'm like, fuck it. I ain't defending these guys anymore. Because there is a problem within this organization where these guys, talented or less than talented, don't live up to what they're capable of. Something is amiss here. And this is why we win 5 fucking games a year. What is the issue with this franchise? That's what really irritates me. So it's not like I'm sitting there going, I'm so happy for Daniel Jones, because I really don't care, but I'm not like upset that he's playing well. So I'm not going around going, yay, I'm so happy for him. Just like, good for him. That's kind of what it is. Good for him. You know what I mean?
I'm going to fix the franchise in a minute.
Good. Fix it.
I was just curious about that question, because you also forgot about Julian Love.
Julian Love's another one. Oh, Hernandez is another one. Eric Flowers is another one.
You forgot about Leonard Williams, who
There's so many of them, right? Yeah.
Best seasons last year in Seattle. I'm going to fix the franchise. I'm going to fix it right now, because I've been saying this forever. I'm a Knicks fan. And I've been a Knicks fan since as long as I can remember. Probably I've been Giant fan since 76. I've probably been a Knicks fan since like 78. James Dolan, we can all agree, was the problem for the Knicks for years.
Yep.
You know, the whole issue with the Melo trade, where Melo basically forced his trade to New York because of the fact that the CBA was changing the next year, and he would have gotten less money if he came here in free agency. So Dolan was like, do it, bring him in, even though it gutted the team with talent.
It did, because we were playing well at Stoudemire and Felton that year.
Stoudemire was having literally an MVP season.
Yep.
But he put his hand in there, and he's always had his hand in there. And you take a look at John Mara, and you want to think that John Mara does not have his pulse on the team, that he is not. You saw a little bit in Hard Knocks, but you're kind of like, you know what? There's always been a constant, and this constant the last 13 years has been the Maras. And I go back to the miracle of the Meadowlands when Pisarcik hands off to Larry Zonka, and of course Herm Edwards takes the ball, runs it in. The day after that happened, Wellington Mara said, I had enough. I'm done. Evidently, I'm not running this organization the right way. I need to turn this over to football guys. Mm-hmm. And what he did, of course, is he hired, after speaking with, Pete Rozelle, and the Giants were not forced to hire George Young. Pete Rozelle recommended him. They hired George Young. Wellington took a step back and said, you know what? I'm going to let my football guys run this team. So I think what the Giants need to do, and James Dolan did the same thing. He first turned the keys over to Phil Jackson, which almost wrecked the franchise.
Yep.
Then he didn't get back in again. He said, you know what? I'm going to let my basketball guys run this organization. I think John Mara really needs to look in the mirror and say, listen, you know what? I have to remove the Mara name from a lot of these office doors, because of the fact that we need to actually get not a guy that could be a good general manager, not a guy that, is that young upcoming general manager. We need a guy that is established, that knows what he's doing, literally feel confident in turning over the entire reins of the organization in regards to football operations, and let them do their job. My theory was this: you get a president of you have a general manager, but above the general manager, you get a football guy and make him president of football operations. The general manager and him work as a branches. It's kind of like what Parcells did when he went to Miami. You literally had someone, and Tom Coughlin kind of did this in Jacksonville as well, but you literally have a guy that oversees the entire football operations, and it's a football guy, and you don't make these decisions in a vacuum. You let your general manager do the job unless you see something wrong. You take out the family ownership and just turn the corner and allow your football guys. Don't come in the office and tell me you're going to be upset that Saquon Barkley's gone. Don't tell me we should do this. Don't tell me we should do that. Do a James Dolan. Go to the Knicks games. Pick Charles Oakley all you want. Pick on Spike Lee all you want. Throw him out of the building, but stay out of it when it comes to football basics and basically hiring and evaluating talent, because we have not our talent evaluation has been so god awful the last 10 years, even longer, going back to the end of the Jerry Reese term. But we need someone that has a football smart, a football acclimate, someone that can oversee the entire operation and have that general manager report to the president of football operations and take the Mara and Tish names off the office doors when it comes to anything football related. Let them be the owners. Let them sit in the box. Let them cheer.
Sign the checks.
You got Hunt over in Kansas City. Hunt's not doing anything, and all he does is win Super Bowl rings. You got Jerry Jones, who's got his footprint all over everything in Dallas, and Dallas hasn't been good since the 90s.
Kind of like Al Davis of the Raiders near the end of his,
at the end of his tenure before Mike Davis took over when we passed away. But that's what the Giants need to do. They just need to get out of their own way and let someone that is actually football smart make organizational decisions.
I could not agree with you more. Could not agree more. Of course, we're talking with Tim from the Believe Network. I want to give a big shout out to Sleeper. Of course, they sponsor the channel here during the football season. Guys, check out Sleeper. It's a great app. It's pretty much just taking over/under on player statistics. Enter that promo code BADDOG. It's in the description below. You get a 100% match deposit bonus all the way up to $100. You get daily fantasy, college football, college basketball, WNBA, MLB, all that good stuff. It's easy. It takes 30 seconds to do an entry. It's dollar minimum entries going up to 1,000 times your money. So check it out, guys. Huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the stream. As always, we appreciate them. And like I said, make sure you use that promo code. I actually hit my picks last night. I had Josh Allen over. I had Devontae A-Chain over receiving yards, and I had James Cook. James Cook was over 64 rushing yards. He had that like in the first quarter. That was easy money. It's the first time I won. Yeah, that was the first time that I won this year. So, but it is a lot of fun, man. I've had a blast on Sleeper. So said, check it out, man. You guys can have a lot of fun. If you think you're good at football, it's a good way to test your knowledge. And also, as always, big shout out to Body Armor Sport Water, which I do not have any here, but Body Armor Sport Water is an alkaline water with a pH 9 plus and a proprietary electrolyte form with a wide mouth for easy hydration. I wish I had some down here. Body Armor Sport Water is built for all-day hydration for the athlete and all of us. And my kid loves it. So it's always a good thing. He's 8 years old. He knows the difference between tap water and Body Armor Sport Water. So that should tell you all you need to know. Let's get to some of these super chats. Appreciate you guys. Philly D, thank you so much. Says, how can you not love Baddog? What's up, buddy? You want my salsa verdes?
Yeah.
Okay. Steals my chips. That's okay. I ate his box of Count Chocula cereal. So I guess
so now we know where the sport water went.
That's right. That's right. Philly D says, how can you not love Baddog? I love your 24-hour streams, but Google sucks. I appreciate that. And you're right. Google does suck. They don't always give the notification. Tim, I'll see you do videos or like live streams, and it'll say like uploaded 2 minutes ago. It's 5 days ago.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
It's ridiculous. Like I'm like, oh, he just uploaded it 5 days ago.
No, and I don't understand it because it started doing that, I would say like 4 or 5 months ago. And someone even asked me, someone was like, wow, I just watched a new video you did. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like I haven't been online in a week.
Yeah. It's very weird how that works. I don't understand that. But Greg, thank you, brother. He says, 2 of the best in the business. Salute to you guys. Thank you. We're definitely 2 of the roughest on the team. I can tell you that much right now.
Yeah,
Tim's probably rougher on him than I am. I try to I try to fool myself more than anything.
First of all, listen. There is a misconception and
I just think you're more honest with yourself than I am.
That I am this gruff person that's always negative and doesn't see any good. And the first thing I need to say for people think that is fuck you. I really don't care, because I'm only just being honest.
That's what I'm saying. You're more honest with yourself than I am.
I've always said this when I did the channel. When I started the channel, it was never to be a fan channel. It was always to be a channel where you took an outside perspective and actually looked at the team from an NFL standpoint, not a Giant standpoint. And sometimes I always have to, reiterate that to people, because they're like, well, because I had a guy once go through a bunch of my videos, and he's like, it's funny. I go, what? He goes, I went through all like 20 videos, and like 89% of what you said was positive. He goes, but then there's an 11% where you go, but this could also happen. And everyone's like, well, you're negative. Yeah. I could say that Malik Neighbors had I can say Russell Wilson had a game of the century in this. I can say Malik Neighbors is doing this and he's going to be the best wide receiver in this. But then I can come back and say, but if he doesn't start, if the Giants don't find the tight end and they don't bring the over-the-top safety into the middle of the field to give you one-on-one coverage with Malik Neighbors is not probably going to produce at certain points in time within a game. And evidently that's negative. And I'm like, no, that's football knowledge. That I'm trying to say, hey, listen, the Giants need to do this, but they need to do this at the same time.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of it. You've been on social media long enough, you really can't win. If you're positive, it's, oh, you're delusional. What the hell is the matter with you? If you're negative, it's, oh, you're fucking negative. Yeah, it's a perfect example. But then when it comes to Daniel Jones, I always felt like I was very fair with Daniel Jones. I always praised him when he deserved it, and I criticized him when he deserved it. So much so that on the same video, I had one guy come and go, you're nothing but a Daniel Jones lover. You love Daniel Jones. You just defend him. And I had another guy tell me, you're just a fucking hater. You hate Daniel Jones. All you've ever done is hate Daniel Jones since your draft reaction video. And I'm like, that's how I know I'm doing it down the middle. And the same video, somebody got out that I was a lover, and somebody that got out that I was a hater in this same video. So I said, you know what? I'm doing it properly because I am very unbiased. I'll give you the good and I'll give you the bad. And anybody that's watched Giants knows it's a lot of bad. That's not negative. It's reality.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. So at the beginning of the year, Tim, I try to be again. That's my fandom. That's the thing. You
know it's your fandom, though,
right?
You admit to that.
Yeah, I try to trick myself into believing it's going to be a better year. We can win 9 games, and then as soon as I see the product in the field, I'm like, what the fuck's the matter with me? Like, what? They got me again. You know what I mean? So
close.
It's crazy, but yeah,
I have another question for you though. Because we had this conversation like 3-4 years ago, and I still remember it. Do you still think Daniel Jones is better than Jalen Hurts?
That's a good question, because I still think Jalen Hurts is a passenger, but I will say this: Jalen Hurts is a winner, and that's the big thing about Hurts. And Eagle fans get butthurt when I say he's not an elite, because I don't think he's an elite quarterback. But who gives a shit? He wins. I don't care about stats. He wins. Give me the guy that wins. He knows how to win. 3 or 4 years ago, he wasn't winning shit. Now he is, though. And to me, that's all I care about. Wins. He's 19-1 in his last 20 games or whatever the hell it is. Give me that guy. I don't give a shit if he throws for 105 yards. They won the game. Russ threw for 450. We lost. Give me the guy that throws for 105 and we win. It's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts was on this team, we'd be 0-2. We would not be 2-0.
We would still be 0-2. But Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for the right situation in Philadelphia.
Correct. Yeah,
that's what he is. But I still think he would be successful elsewhere, not as successful. But he is the right quarterback for the right team. The guy's already gone to 2 Super Bowls in 5 years. Yeah. He's won one of them, and he's had 2 of the best Super Bowl games for a quarterback over the last 20 years. So, but when people say he's a passenger, I'm like, well, yeah, no, he's the right guy for that team. And I think, and I hate when people say, well, if you took this quarterback X and put him on the Eagles, it would be the same thing. No, it wouldn't, because of the fact that they played the game to Jalen Hurts' strengths and what he does best. And that's the way, which is what the Giants don't really do. This is the way they evolved their team around. They coached and evolve the team around Jalen Hurts.
That's good coaching. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to scheme your game plans around your players' strengths.
Yep.
That's why I'm so down on Shane Bowen, because I feel like he does the complete opposite of what this team's strength is. Now, I'm not a coach, and I don't ever pretend to be a coach, and I'm pretending I can break down film, and I'm just Williams, a guy that's watched football for 43 years, and my eyes tell me a lot. And when I know you have press corners and you have guys that can rush the passer, what the fuck are we being so conservative for? Go! Especially when you've been getting pressure. Yep. What are we doing? Why do we go? It's like they're so scared. You guys have been terrible. You're the worst team record-wise since 2017. So people like you're negative, they tell me this, Tim, like, well, you want guys fired, but it's only been 2 games. No, it's been 4 years. This isn't 2 games. It's 2 games this year, but these guys aren't new. We weren't 12-5 last year, and I'm down to these guys. We were 3-14. So when we get up to an 0-2 start, forgive me for saying, holy shit, these probably aren't the guys that should be coaching the team. It's not 2 games. It's a pattern. It's years of bad football, bad coaching, bad drafting, bad signings, bad everything. That's why you have the worst record. That's why you're 40-94-1 in your last 135 games. That's terrible. That's 30%.
Yeah.
It's awful. So, no, it's not 2 games. You know?
People seem to forget. Dable's regime started at 7-2. Then we went 2-5-1. We went
6-11-32 cents.
And then I've been bringing up that stat for the last year and a half. That this is also a guy in Brian Dable, outside of Josh Allen, has been fired from every NFL stop he has ever been at, and he was even fired by his mentor in the NFL. He has never had a successful offense outside of Josh Allen, where honestly, I think I might be able to have a successful offense with Josh Allen.
Right. Josh, go throw the ball.
Yeah, I know. Josh, throw a touchdown.
Whatever.
I told him to do that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Trenton, thank you, brother. He says, online Big Blue is the YouTube GOAT. What up, Tim?
That's that big Trent. He's an Eagle fan. Trenton's an Eagle fan, but so we still love him.
Yeah, I listen, man. I always say some of my best supporters on this channel are Eagle and Cowboys fans.
Yeah, we have a lot of Eagle fans. Trenton's one of them, and that he's always in all the chats. He's not only just good at the Eagles and the Giants, he's got good football knowledge, which is nice because you think Eagle fan, you don't think.
I was gonna say that's rare for an Eagle fan.
Not none of the highest of intelligence. So he must. Oh, but he's also a Met fan. So.
Yeah, right. A lot of Eagle fans are potatoes. I agree. They like to troll me though, man. I don't know if you saw it because I know you follow me on Twitter. Someone actually sent me a Super Bowl Saquon Barkley shirt in my P.O. box to troll me. This is the type of shit I get. Eagle fans, I say it all the time, man. Yeah.
This is from Eagle fan. I'm from Eagle Fandom 1547. He told me that he was going to send me an Eagle Super Bowl ring when they won. And and this was at the beginning of the year. And I said, you're full of shit. And then this shows up in the mail.
Yep. So I say it all the time. I wouldn't know what to do without them. They wouldn't know what to do. It's a very strange relationship I have with that fan base because I fucking hate the Eagles with a passion. And I hate the Cowboys too. But like I said, they're my biggest supporters, which just shows you football's it's all love in the NFC.
That's all it is. It's all family.
My guy. Oh, by the way, you have season tickets.
Yeah.
You going to the Niners game?
Yeah.
I'm going to be there. We got to meet up.
Oh,
I'm going to the Niners game this year.
I'm like a moron. I go to every game.
We got to meet up.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know what to drink, but
I drink anything that's free.
All right, cool. We'll have to share a cold one when we're like 3-7 or whatever. B-Rock, thank you, brother. He says, I don't know how guys are lined up 10 to 15 yards off the ball with a kicker who can get a 100-yard field goal. You put together a defense to get after the quarterback, and you don't let them when it truly matters. That's the whole thing. If Dak beats you over the top, you tip your cap. But you can't give it to him. It's like a pitcher. If you're facing a 9th place hitter, you can't walk him. Make it, if it's 2-0, throw the ball down the middle of the play and go hit it. Put it in play. I dare you to beat me.
But the thing I don't get though, that's a valid point. But the thing is this: Shane Bowen likes to rush 4. He's done it in Tennessee for years. He generates his rush with 4. If you're generating your rush with 4, last time I checked, if my math is off, you got 7 guys in the defensive secondary.
Yep.
How are you creating such large cushions?
That's
for these wide receivers, because they it's not like, oh my God, they're going to throw the ball. No, you know they're going to throw the ball, and you're only rushing 4, which means you're dropping back 7.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I don't get. How there was so much space. And it's not just there against Washington, Tim. How many the times you would get them behind the line of scrimmage, you'd make a play 2nd and 16 or whatever, they'd get a first down, or they'd get 15 yards on 2nd down and 15. And it was just crazy. I'm like, why are we all of a sudden just laying back and letting them have this, or 1st and 10, giving them 8 yards? I don't care how good your defense is, you're never going to win if your points are 2nd and 2.
If they're down by 4.
Exactly.
I can understand that.
Exactly.
You don't want to give up the big play. You don't want,
exactly.
as a former safety, the first thing they teach you is never let anyone get behind you. So if you're keeping everyone in front of you, that's fine. But when you're down, when a field goal ties it, and you're playing 15 yards off the receivers, and you do that consecutively, and you're
3 timeouts or 2 timeouts.
2 timeouts, and then you're shocked that they caught the ball.
I know.
It's like,
just so bad.
Are we watching the same game?
I just don't understand that. I felt like they had to play like the 50-yard line was the end zone.
Yeah,
that's the way they should have played.
Exactly. I should have played.
Mark, thank you, remember 44 months. He says, salute Bad Dog and Big Tim.
Big Mark.
Oh, baby.
Big Mark, always at the games.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to meet a lot more people this time around because I haven't been to a game in a long time, but I'm going to that Niner game. So, Sebastian, thank you, brother. He says, this is our put up or shut up game. Let's go, G-Men. You think we have any chance to beat Kansas City?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the way Kansas City is right now, Mahomes is their leading rusher. Yeah. You got Pachenko as running back. You got Kareem Hunt. Their wide receivers are not. I on the show the other day, I mentioned the fact that this reminds me of an early Tom Brady receiving core, like, when you have like David Patton and Jabbar Gaffney. So you have these guys that just aren't names. So you would hope that with the issues that they have and portions of their offensive line, Kansas City is, that you hope they can generate the rush. And if you're going to rely on Patrick Mahomes to be your leading rusher, you would hope the Giants would figure out, let's keep let's keep a safety in. Let's do like we did with Peppers and Logan Ryan. Let's make them an in the box safety. Let's put them in there 60-70% of the plays, not to mirror the quarterback, but to close down the middle of the field, and hope your corners, where you invested a first-round pick and $54 million, 36 guaranteed on another guy, should be able to hold up against these no-name wide receivers. I think the Giants could take this one like 21-17.
Yeah, I have them winning 21-20. That was my pick, but again, that could just me being a fan. That's what I do. Greg, thank you so much. He says, I always thought Tim was negative, but I was wrong. The team is just trash. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Being realistic is not being negative. Like I said, if we were a good football team, we were like 12-5 last year, and you nitpick the losses, that's being negative in my opinion. But when you're 40, 94-1 in your last 100 over 8 years, and you are statistically the worst team in the NFL, that's not negative, man. That's truthful. And again, Tim will tell you, we're from the same generation. We're Gen Xers. Facts over feelings. Fuck your feelings. We don't care. We're going to give you the truth. You like it? Too bad. That's the truth. We're not going to lie to you. So that's the way it is. Gen Xers don't care. We don't care what you do, how you think. We don't give a shit. Don't affect us. We don't give a shit what you think about us either.
Yep.
That's a Gen X. He has a show. It's called Ramblings of a Mad Gen Xer.
Yep.
And I agree with everything he said. Like, yep, that's right. Yep, that's right. Agree with that. Yep. It's our generation.
It's my Clint Eastwood moment. That's why it's the whole get off my lawn.
Yeah. And listen, it is the best generation. I know everybody's generation thinks they're the best.
No, we're the best generation. I mean, think about that for a minute, though. I always joke around with people, and sometimes not joking. I don't know how we lived. I mean, literally, physically, how we're still alive. I know. Because there were certain things that I would talk about, friends that I did, that if my son told me he did that, I'd be like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
But then my son found a videotape about something, and I don't know what we were doing, was something monumentally stupid. And he's like, well, I want to do that. I'm like, no, you're not going to do that. Because you have to remember, in our day, there was no cell phones. There was no cameras. So you could do this shit.
Exactly. You get away with anything you want to do.
But now
it's just your word against his.
I always jokingly tell people, I said, I swear to God, my mom's told me I must have died like 7 times.
Yeah.
When I was in my teens, but Gen X, you just come back to life and start over again.
That's what it is. I was telling this to somebody at my job today. A dead ass, real serious story. Fell off my bike, cut my knee wide open, went in the house. Mother said, "Don't bleed on the carpet. Don't bleed, but go out on the porch. I'll bring you a Band-Aid, get some peroxide." Yeah. Don't bleed on the carpet. Not, are you okay? Oh my God. No, don't bleed on the carpet.
Nope.
Don't bleed on the carpet. That's what we got. That spinny jungle, that spinny merry-go-round in the playground, that was a death trap. Slip and slides. That 150-degree slide
that you had to go through.
Yeah.
And then literally sitting there seeing if you could take the swing and wrap it around.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's
and then you hit the apex. And then what did you do? You jumped off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. Zach, thank you, brother. He says team over scheme, not scheme over team.
Zach's been saying that I love Zach. He's been saying that for years. And he's been so right on that forever.
It's true. My guy, Demons Row. Love Demons Row. Almost at 1 million subscribers, my guy. So check him out, man. You ever want to know anything about motorcycle culture? That's your dude right there. Remember when I would say Danny was a good quarterback, but the Giants gave him nothing? Chris said I was crazy. Have no fear. Jackson is the guy. I see it. Maybe he can be the guy, but we got to get an offensive line around that kid. They can't do to him what they did to Daniel Jones, because whatever you thought about Daniel Jones, and we didn't think much of him here near the end. He was always injured. He didn't play really well, but nobody can deny he didn't have shit. That guy had nothing to work with. They did him no favors even John Mara said that. Terrible offensive line. He didn't have a number one receiver. Malik Neighbors got here, and Jones missed more than half the year. And then
you have to remember, though, with Daniel Jones, it's not for lack of effort in reference to finding him pieces. They went out and got him wide receivers. Smooth sounds of Kenny G. We overpaid for that. We went out and drafted wide receivers.
There is Tony
and Wandale Robinson and everyone else. It's just the fact that we drafted multitudes of offensive linemen. We signed Nate Solder. We took Andrew Thomas. They tried Will Hernandez. They tried to put pieces around them. They were just the fact that, again, personnel decisions turned out to be totally the wrong pieces.
Yep. That's just Giants football. That's how you lose all those games. I really want to win, Tim. Like I do
too.
Tough to cover this team. It just is and that's why I love our fans, because they turn out to support these shows. They watch the videos. I mean, this fan base is unreal, because a lesser fan base with less integrity and less fandom will go, fuck it. But fuck this team. But they don't, because they could be doing other things. But the fact they're always here, always supporting, watching, commenting, giving their thoughts, whether I agree or disagree, it speaks a lot to this fan base, because it's been so bad. It's easy when you're the Eagles content creators, who, by the way, there were none here. I've been here a long time. There was none here before 2017. Now go look at the biggest Eagle content creators and see when they started making videos. It's 2017. They didn't do shit before that. Every one of the biggest ones, none of them were here before they won. I was here. I know. So,
Well, and that's what I get mad at people, and they're like, well, you're negative, because when you're negative, you're more popular. I'm like, I'm a season ticket holder.
Right.
I am financially invested in this team since 1976. I can't tell you the amount of money I've wasted. I live 2 hours away from the stadium. So when I go to the game, I'm leaving it's a 1:00 game. I'm leaving at 6 a.m. Yeah. And I continuously do this over and over again, because I'm supporting the team that I've been following since they opened up the Meadowlands against Dallas.
The Craig Morton days.
Tell
that story about Craig Morton. I like that.
I was a Giant fan since 76. First game I ever went to was Dallas and Giants. They opened up the Meadowlands. Craig Morton was playing. Craig Morton was our quarterback. We lost to Dallas. So my grandmother, in her God rest her soul, in her infinite wisdom, said, you know what I'm going to do for my grandson, my favorite grandson? I'm going to buy him a Craig Morton jersey. Now, back in the day, in the 70s, they didn't have the names on the back. They just had the number 15, and it was a Giant jersey. I run down Christmas Day. I'm all excited and ripping open my presents. I get the Craig Morton jersey. I cried. I looked at my grandmother and I said, why would you buy me this? I literally, and I think it's still in my mother's house, it still has the tags on it, because I refuse to wear it. Now, you gotta remember, this is Christmas morning. And my father, who was even a bigger Giant fan than I have ever been, looked at me and I thought I was going to get lectured. He looked at me and said, I understand. I was like, and to this day, like I said, my mother, every time she cleans what used to be my old room, she finds this small number 15 jersey with the tag still on and says, do you want me to throw it out? And I was like, no. I said, you just put it back in the drawer.
Yeah, I love that story. The first time we told me that, I thought that was it 70. What year did they start 0-9? Was that 76 or was that 74? Like one year they started 0-9, and I thought it was 1976. But
I believe that was the 76 season.
Yeah, that's so.
Oh yeah, it was a great time to be a Giant fan under the Andy Robustelli eras.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I have fans that like you started following them at 76, but like Giants fans that go back from like 66, and they'll tell me, and I know that was bad. My dad grew up in that era, and when they won the Super Bowl in '86, he was like crying. He was so happy. He told me, he said,
My father did the same thing. Yeah.
I was only 11. And he said, kid, enjoy it. You may never see it again, because he never saw it. And I remember when we were talking to Carl Banks, people were like, Baddog, don't fanboy too much. And I didn't, but at the end of the stream, I just wanted to tell him I wanted to thank him for, all the great football he played. I was growing up at that time, but I'm like, it meant a lot to my dad, like how much that 86 team meant to my dad. And he said, that was something George Martin said, because Carl got there in 84. They started to become really good in 84. That's when I started watching them. So I missed the bad football.
You missed the really bad times.
I missed the Scott Bruner. I missed the Craig Mortons. I missed that era of football. And Carl said, that's what George Martin said. He said, we want to win this for all those fans in that stadium that have dealt with really bad Giants football. Because George Martin was there maybe since 76. Like he was there for a while.
George Martin was there since the mid 70s.
Yeah. So they knew. But those guys that grew up in that era that are on my channel have told me, Baddog, this is worse. Because at least then they had a good defense.
This is worse to the point that Andy Robustelli was such a bad general manager. And I always talk about the Craig Morton trade because they traded Giants traded their first round pick.
Yeah, they only ended up being Harvey Martin, or I'm sorry,
Randy White.
Randy White, yeah,
the manster, only freaking Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's it.
And but like I said, the '86 team, like I said, I went to that game in Pasadena because we flew. My father was going to Australia for business, and he was like, "We're stopping in California, and we're going to this game." Because he was such a Giant, and he was the same way. He was such a diehard Giant fan. And I got to meet a lot of the players, and we actually just had Carl Banks on a couple months ago, and it was great though because I met Carl Banks in the lobby of the hotel, and I asked him. Of course, he doesn't remember me, but the first thing I asked him was, I said, we met in '86, and I said, when you met me, did you know right then and there you were meeting greatness? And his response was so funny. I gotta give, like I said, I've given Carl Banks shit a lot early on for being a little homerific on certain of his calls and certain.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do on Twitter. A lot of people get on.
A lot of people do it, but if you actually listen, I stopped doing that like a year ago. So if you actually listen to what he says and you listen to his broadcast, there is spatterings of truth in those broadcasts, even though he is the voice of the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So and I always tell people he's not going to go out there as the voice of the Giants and bash the team.
Of course not. Yeah.
And then when he came on the show, he gave such honest and truthful answers about certain questions that I didn't think he was ever going to answer. I mean, he told us the story about the time that he had Ray Handley pinned up against the locker in Arizona, and he told the whole story, and I'm like, do you really think you should be telling that whole story? Because he thought he was going to get cut the next day.
Right.
But he was just such a great guest. I know he's been on your show as well. He was such a great guest, and he was so honest about the Giants that I think people need to kind of take Carl from a different perspective that, yeah, he's the radio voice, but if you actually listen to what he says and listen and look at what he posts on Twitter, he as boisterous about what you and I might say about what the Giants do.
But
he can't be, but there is honesty in those posts.
Yeah, of course. Well, listen, to me, being able to talk football with Carl Banks for an hour and a half is the highlight of my YouTube career, because again, that's a guy I grew up watching, a guy that brought prominence, a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame. And the fact he interacts with so many people,
and that's the thing.
He doesn't have to do that, and even the people that bash him, he interacts with them. Like, he doesn't have to do that. He can just be like, "Fuck these guys," but he doesn't. He takes the time to. How many legends? He's a legend. This isn't just some dude that was a third string guy on the team that got a ring. This guy was an all-pro. This guy, like I said, belongs in Canton. This guy won 2 Super Bowls. He's if you know anything about Giants history, you know who Carl Banks is. So that's just, to me, that's tons of respect.
Well, hopefully this year he can get it. I mean, he was voted by the Veterans Committee.
Yeah,
so
he's on
the Hall of Fame ballot now. So let's see what happens.
He got to get in. Murdoch, thank you, brother. He says, love watching you both. The Giants sucks ass, but I'm looking forward to a home opener under the lights. I just don't look forward to the 2-hour drive home. Luzerne County, Pennsylvania.
You know, I know where you're coming from. I'm in Pennsylvania, brother. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, for me, it's like 3.5 hours because I'm in Saratoga County, which is upstate New York. So normally when I go to a game, I would just go down Saturday and spend the night. This time we're not. We're going to get up early in the morning and go down there. So I'm like, whatever. I just got to get back to a game. I just haven't been to a game in a while. I just want to experience it again. Because the last time I went, my kid was really young, and now he's getting older. He's 8 now. So, it's tough. I don't get a lot of time with him because I work during the day and I work at night. But, yeah, my kid said one of the best things to me, man. We were talking about something, and he said something about putting money aside. And he's like, a lot of that, because I always try to put a little money in his bank account for him, just, to get him started. And he said, a lot of dads might do that. I go, well, if you had a rich dad, he might. He goes, yeah, but I don't want a dad that works all the time. And I go, buddy, I do. I work a lot. And he said, no lie. He's 8. He goes, but Dad, you always make time for me. That made me feel really good. That he recognizes that I make time for him. So it is hard for me to just say every Sunday, fuck it, I'm going. And I'm not retired. Like if I was living the life you did, where I'd have to work a 9 to 5, I could probably do it. But my dumb ass gets up every day. Goes to work. I'm not there yet. I'm so close.
Every 10 to 12 years, you'll be good.
That's right. 10 to 12 years. Let's hope the Giants don't kill me by then.
I was going to say, hopefully they win by then.
Yeah, maybe. Demons Road, thank you again, brother. He says, I like Dable. I think Carl Banks would be a great head coach. Would you guys sign up for Carl? I don't know if Carl would ever want to be a coach.
He said no. I asked him the same question. He had the opportunity to be like a linebacker coach and do certain things. And he said he was at that. I guess back then he thought about it, but now he said he wasn't interested in it.
Takes a lot of time. That is those are long hours. And some guys do get to a point where they're like, I just don't want to spend all that time at this, at the stadium. I don't want to be there for 18 hours a day, which is what a lot of these, like Joe Gibbs, would sleep.
Well, there used to be an off season. Now you're in that office,
True.
52 weeks a year. There's no off season anymore.
We need to have our guys in there 65 weeks a year. Maybe they can get something together. I don't know.
They might
Zach,
win.
Yeah. Zach, thank you, brother. He says, fun fact, the Giants are 7-0 versus Kansas City when in Jersey.
And
really,
Russell Wilson has an undefeated record in MetLife.
Okay.
He won the Super Bowl.
That's true. He did. In convincing fashion.
Zach gave me that stat a couple weeks ago that he has an undefeated record.
I like that. Well, hopefully that continues. We really do need to win. But with that said, we're going to get out of here. I don't want to keep you guys too long. It's Friday night, so go enjoy your Friday night. Tim, thank you for coming. This is long overdue. We have to do this again without question. I always love chopping it up with you because, again, you're about as real as it gets. And people can say, oh, you're negative, and you're negative. And you know what? There's been times I've listened to you and I'm like, man, he don't like anybody. And I sit there and I watch it and I goes, shit, you know what? He was fucking right. He was right.
I get that a lot.
So, yeah, that's like, with Abdul Carter. Now, Abdul Carter's played 2 games, so I'm not going to kill him.
No, you can't kill him.
The things you've said about Abdul Carter, I'm like, he just don't like anybody. And then I'm like, fuck, he is right about that. He was right about that. So I always give credit where it's due. That's just me. So, but yeah, it's bullshit. We're not negative. The Giants stink.
Right.
If we're 14-3, if we're 13-4, 11-6, 12-5, and Tim's like, that guy can't do this, then you can go, you're negative. If I do that, you can tell me I'm negative. But until we win double-digit games, please, let us. And it's good for us anyway. It makes me feel good.
I've only seen one winning season since I've been doing Giant YouTube.
Yeah,
and that was that was Brian Dable's. I started the year before Brian Dable, so I have yet to see a winning season outside of the 9-7-1.
So I got lucky because I started in YouTube's infancy in 2007, and I was here in 2009. Then I got away from it, so I saw him win a Super Bowl. I saw him be great in 2008, which we should have a dynasty. Burris, asshole. Jerry Reese not trading for Tony Gonzalez. Are you serious?
I don't know what you were thinking.
Man, come on. And then, 2009, we started off 5-0. We finished 8-8. 2010, we should have been second, but the whole miracle of the Meadowlands 2, we missed the playoffs. Then we win in 11. I came back in 2014, and I've seen 2 good seasons. 16 and 22. That's it. So I haven't seen a lot of winning football since I came back on YouTube. And that's what I'm saying. It's easy. When it was 2008, we were winning every game and dominating. And I knew it was easy to make videos. It was easy to be proud of this team. When you're 3-14 and you have everybody in your comments going, you guys are trash, you guys suck, we own you, we own you, we own you. They do. Thanks for Saquon. Dallas owed you. You haven't beat Jackson 2006. All this true. It falls on deaf ears at times. I mean, because how many times can you hear it? How many times can you flog a dead horse? We know the stats. But it does get tiring that nobody respects the Giants. It's a get-right game for every freaking team. It gets aggravating. And as content creators or just Giants fans in general, it's easy to walk away when you're a typer. It's easy to do it when you're good. But to put your face out there every day, to do the Sunday morning show like Tim does, to make the videos, to do the things I do and other Giants, it's not that easy to come on here and talk about this team ad nauseum when they make you nauseous all the time. So that's why I respect this fan base so much.
I have one last question. I know we're going to get, but I got one last question. I was thinking about this. Giants start 0-4.
Yeah.
You go into New Orleans. Do you start Jackson Dart?
I think it depends on how the offense looks. If the offense is good like it was against that, we're not going to be that good. But if we lose, Russ puts up 24 against Kansas City, we lose 27-25. If we're not losing because of Russ, I don't see what good it does to put Jackson Dart in there. If we had games like we did against Washington and we did that against Dallas, and that continued for 4 games, I think you'd see him in New Orleans. But then again, I worry that Dable and Shane might be trying to save their jobs at 0-4, so they want to say to John Merrill, look at how good this kid is. Let us have a year.
That's what I was thinking.
So it could happen. I'm like you. I'd rather
until after the second Philly game.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'd see him in San Francisco against San Francisco. And I'd be fine with that. That'd be something to look forward to.
Something to watch.
Exactly. B-Rock, thank you, brother. He says, guys, thank you so much for streaming. See you over here. He's going to the San Francisco game too. So get to meet up with B-Rock.
We'll all be. You know what? It's the greatest thing to me. I always tell people, I said, it's the greatest. I always get so many people that come up to me and they're like, you're so nice.
Yeah.
You're so nice in person. I'm like, no. And everyone will always tell you, no, Tim is the exact same on the show that he is in person. So I always find that funny that it's just, you're just so nice to talk to.
Yeah. I say it all the time. Like, you can ask anybody that's met me. Like, when I went to the Giants game, I'm like, ask anybody. Ask anybody that knows me. I am the same exact guy. I'm just talking to a camera, but I'm not going to be again, that's our generation. We're as real as it gets.
Yep.
Our generation is as real as we're not fake. You can say whatever the hell you want to, but you're assholes, you're negative, you're mean. Well, we're honest. I mean, that's what we are at the end of the day. That's what it is. I'd rather people hate me for who I am than like me for somebody I ain't.
Yep.
That's just the way it goes. And on that note, and we're not boomers, by the way. I know these young people are like, you boomer. Nah, boomer are our parents. Our parents are boomers.
You got to get the dates right.
Right. We're Gen Xers.
Yeah.
But that's it. Again, big shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate them. You guys can have a lot of fun with Sleeper. Check them out. If you're going to use Sleeper, use that promo code BADDOG. Link in the description. Get a 100% match deposit bonus all the way up to $100 in cash. So big shout out to them. Again, Tim, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Appreciate it. Let the people know where they can find you if they don't know already.
You can find us everywhere the podcasts are found under New York Giants Straight Talk. You can also find us directly on the Believe Network as well. We're also still on YouTube. Well, the long name on YouTube is New York Giants Straight Talk _Online Big Blue, because we can't get rid of the moniker for some unknown reason. And again, like I said, I just appreciate you. It's been literally 2 years since the last time that we did a show, and I had to go back and find it. So, like I said, it's always there's always a good chemistry. There's always a lot of fun. So, like I said, to your point, we got to make sure we don't go another 2 years before we do this again, and we have to definitely get it together for that San Francisco game.
Absolutely, we'll definitely do that. So, for Tim and Online Big Blue, the Believe Network, it's your boy, the Bad Eaters. So enjoy your weekend, everybody. I will see you guys on Sunday night. Hopefully we win.
Hopefully.
We out. Peace. Let's go, John.